This program is going to create a menu system, and it's going to call a bunch of other functions to do what we want to do with it. So let's go right off the bat and declare a function. And this time we're going to use void. A void means it doesn't return any values. So we're just going to call it print menu. And of course you have to have the brackets, and we're not going to pass any parameters. So then down over here, we're putting void and print menu. So now what we're going to do is just print our menu system. So we're just going to do cout, press A for adding, and another thing that you can do if you want, you don't have to do a separate cout. You can do by putting it, you can put it like all on the same line and not have to do separate couts again. Let's see, so let's do A for adding, S for subtraction. Press M for multiplication. I don't know if I spelled that right. Doesn't look like I did. Press D for division. Press X to exit. And then we can do a get selection, or we can press enter your selection if you want. So let's do it now. We need to return anything because it's a void. So all we have to do to print our menu is call print menu. That's it. So let's run it, and we should get our menu printed. We hope. Alright, so we need some cosmetic issues. So let's fix this and run it again. Alright, so that looks good, and we can worry about our press or any key later on. So that looks good over here, so we're calling it. So now we want to get a selection. So let's create a character. So this time it's going to return a character, and we'll call it get selection. So now we need a character called selection, or whatever we want to call it. So now what we want to do here is we're printing our menu, and now we're getting our selection. So now, what did I do wrong? Not sure what I did wrong. Oh, okay, it's green now. All right, that makes sense. So we're going to return a character, and it's called get selection. And okay, I spelled this wrong. Not a good speller. All right. So this looks pretty good in here. So now we'll just do cout, enter your selection, and we could have put it in here as well, the enter your selection. So now we need to get a selection. So again, we needed a character, and we can call it selection. You can call it whatever you want. Remember, this selection here is not the same as the selection up top here, in here. So let's go and enter selection. So now we're going to do cin selection. This is all the same standard stuff that you got. So now we need to error check. So we need a Boolean. And we'll call it valid selection. And we'll just think positive and do true. So now what we're going to do here, we have the selection. Now we're going to use a switch statement. Switch selection. And we'll start checking our valid selections. So we're going to do case, and we need to have the letters. I'm just going to copy and paste this so I don't have to keep doing that. All right, so we'll change that to A, S, M, D, and X. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to check this. And the default will be the error message. So what we're going to do is, because all we care about is an A, an S, an M, a D, an X, just think of this as if it's an A, an S, an M, a D, or X. So what we'll do here is we'll do valid selection equals true. Because we did, we did an A, an S, a D, and F. Otherwise, valid selection is false. So for right now, I'm going to put valid selection equals false, just to be on the safe side. So now what we need to do is we need to put this in a do-while loop until we get a valid selection. So what we'll do here, we're going to do, and we'll do our while down here, and the switch should automatically indent. And we'll just do, always. And we'll do while not valid selection. And then I'm going to change it to make it a little bit more readable. So basically this is saying do this as long as, let's see, valid selection. So the one thing is that I'm not a big fan of doing negative things. So my personal opinion is I would put in a bool and make it need selection or need data. So let's change this to need data, like what we did before. Then we're going to change this to need data equals false, because we don't need it anymore. And this will be need data equals true. And then while need data. Now, which way you do it, your call. I'm not a big fan of doing a negative while not. I'm more of a fan of while need data. So either way is okay. You want to just make it as readable as possible. So now what we need to do is we need to return. We need to actually make an error message in here. So need data equals true. C out. You entered selection valid or whatever. I'll just leave that for right now. And we'll put a little alert. So now it should keep beeping until you put it in here. Then what we need to do here is we need to return selection. And I like to put it in parentheses. I think it just looks neater. So it's best to do that. So now what we need to do is call get selection. So here we have a selection, or you can call it choice. So just so we do it differently than before, let's call it choice. And equals, of course spelling does count, equals get selection. And we can just use the brackets. So now it's going to keep doing this until we get a valid selection. So let's go and just do C out. You entered and choice. So now we have a program that gets something and does absolutely nothing. And what did I spell? Okay. Those red lines are killers. So let's test it now. So it printed our menu. Now we're entering our selection. So let's do a 1 for Juan. Okay, and valid selection. So we have some cosmetic issues, and we'll do an F. So boom. So that's not good. Now, one thing that we did not do, and it's a good thing that we tested it. Let's go back up here and get selection. And we need to convert it to uppercase. So let's run it again. And we'll do a 3. Doesn't work. And let's do an A. You entered A, valid R. Okay, so we have an issue. Okay, so let's fix the issue. Now I'm hoping that you're seeing the advantage of doing this in switch while need data. So A should have worked. Case A, need data in here, default need data equal. Here's the answer. Remember, if you don't work in a switch statement, make sure you add a break. Or you will be just going to go right down here without the break. It will do need data equals true. So let's try that again. Constantly remember, do one thing and check. One thing and check. Okay, so we have a little bit better. Enter your section. So we need put something before enter your selection. So let's go and do A this time. You entered A, press any key to continue. So that works out good. And we can do a valid R, A, S, M, D, X. So that'll make us do that, and we can put a in here if you want, or you can put it here. So let's test that and see how we're doing. we'll do an F. Okay, so the cosmetic is okay. Enter your selection, and then we'll do A this time. And you entered A, press any key to continue. So we don't keep getting that extra space. We'll just put a C out and L. So now we need to do something called process menu. We have to process if they press A. We need to do A. We need to process for S in here. So now what we're going to do here is create another. What did I do? Oh, and L. So now we're going to create a switch statement. And we have a choice. So we're going to do switch choice. And we'll do these things again. And we need a break. So for each one, because every one that we do is going to be different. So let's copy and paste this here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So this will be S. And M. D.
The top at the bottom.
And X. Say that again.
You could have just copied the bottom.
Copied the bottom. Oh, yeah. Well, but I needed a break in there. But you're right. I could have. All right. So this looks good. So now what we're going to do is process add. So we know that. So now we need to create a function called process add. And we're going to get two numbers or whatever it is and just add them together. So we choose, for simplicity's sake, I'm going to make it an integer. So we're going to do integer, and we'll call it process add.
Professor, but if it's let's say, if it was a float, then you couldn't use switch, right? So you would have to change the whole thing.
Well, you were using switch because our selection is a character, which is valid. Good question.
Okay.
It would be nice if you could, but it just doesn't work. So now what we need to do is, let's just say we want to add two numbers. And I'm going to write this with two different things in here. Two different ways. And I know I spell multiplication wrong. So process add is going to be so we need two numbers. So we'll do integer num1 and num2. Remember, you need to be commenting these things. So what we're going to do here is cout, enter first number.
Thank you, honey.
And then cin num2, or num1 rather. And then cout, enter second number. And then cin, I'm missing the semicolon, num2. So then we need a sum. So it's just simply the sum equals num1 plus num2. Now I'm going to show you things that you should not do. So let me put our return down here at the bottom. Return sum. Do not do return num1 plus num2. Always take the extra effort and add the variable. It's much clearer, especially if you find there's a mistake. So let's go in here and...
So your return is like you're extracting it to send it somewhere else, right?
Well, what you're doing is you're returning a value. So when we call this in here, so we're going to get in here, what happened to this in here? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable here, and we'll call it sum, or whatever we want to call it. And we just do simply sum equals get sum. And why is the red thing? Oh, because it's process add. So let's go and do that and just put C out the sum. Okay, good job. Sum is. And let's see if this works. So we'll do something simple. We'll do like 5 and 10. So let's do A. You entered A, enter first number. So let's do 10. And let's do 8. Sum is and nothing. Probably because we didn't put it in. Sum is, yep. Sum. Oops. Try it again. So 10 and 15 should be 25. So that's how that works in here. So I'm going to pause the video and I'll see if we have any questions right now.